Support for Destination Michigan is provided by the CMU Bookstore. T-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, maroon and gold memories, and an official outfitter of Adidas apparel at the Central Michigan University-owned and operated CMU Bookstore. Online shopping 7 days a week at cmubookstore.com. The CMU Bookstore, online at cmubookstore.com, on campus in the University Center, and game day locations at Kelly Short Stadium and the CMU Events Center.
Hello everyone, I'm Matthew Zanuck and welcome to Destination Michigan. On today's episode, we're going to be giving the old odometer quite a workout because we're going to be spanning nearly the entire state. So let's not waste any time and take a sneak peek of what we have coming up for you.
The beauty of Michigan is this is the home of dock diving.
Got a dog that needs to burn some energy? The TNT Dog Center is the place to be.
They're an ancient fish. They predate the dinosaurs.
Anglers on Black Lake brave the cold in hopes of spearing a 100-pound sturgeon. We'll also learn the story of Oldsmobile in Lansing, come face-to-face with giraffes in Alto, and head to the top of Copper Peak in Ironwood on this episode of Destination Michigan. You know, just like people, dogs need a place to let loose from time to time, and that place is TNT Dog Center in Midland, and it's making waves with dogs and their owners. Stephanie Mills is here, and she's going to dive right in and take us on a tour.
Your dog needs to swim and play fetch, and those are the bottom lines. If your dog loves the water and loves a toy and wants to retrieve, then it's aces from there.
Got a dog who needs to burn off some energy? He'll make a splash here. Welcome to TNT Dog Center, a state-of-the-art facility considered one of the best of its kind in the country.
If you love dogs and you like competing or doing stuff with your dog, this is a place to come.
TNT is the result of one woman's determination, like many dog owners often have, to get her dog to listen to her.
She started coming to classes at the Midland, Michigan Kennel Club here in Midland, and our building was really small. She got hooked on training. She started looking for buildings to try to find a place bigger for the Kennel Club and couldn't find a bigger building. So voila, this was built. It became a dream of hers to have a nice training facility. She traveled around the United States looking at different places and came up with this plan.
This place is amazing. There is so much your dog can learn here, starting with very basic beginner classes teaching obedience and socialization. Then it can get real interesting.
They can graduate from those classes and move downstairs into a regular formal obedience class, or they can take what is called our MATS class, MATS level class for agility. They're taught very basic handling skills, front crosses, back sides, blind crosses, tunnels, teeter, the beginning of the teeter, contact training, beginning of weave pulls. Once the instructor feels that the dog is ready, we'll move them onto the turf.
The turf is part of the agility course, and I could basically sit here and watch this all day long. There are different levels depending on the skill level of the dog. As the dogs race through the course, their masters are right with them, coaching them along every step of the way.
There's lots of us that love our dogs, but this is something we can do to really connect with our dogs and keep in shape and have something fun and have a great relationship with them and still be with our dogs, so it's a win-win.
I love it. I love being part of TNT. I love teaching the students. I love seeing the owner and the dog become together as a team. There's a feeling of accomplishment as far as instructing. I like that part. As far as showing, I love going out there and having a run that comes together where there's no mistakes, and my dog and I have done it together, and it's just incredible.
It's really hard to tell who's having more fun here, the dogs or their owners, but they're also working really hard perfecting each stunt and trick. Many here have gone on to competitions around the country. The head instructor of the agility course came from overseas and hopes to have some of his teams make it to an international stage sometime. Speaking of competitions, what better way to compete than by seeing who can jump the farthest into a giant pool? Check out these dock dogs.
I think that's one of the beauties of the sport, is every dog can do it. And I've seen it from Dachshunds to Pomeranians to Great Danes. Down in Ohio, there's a 130-pound Great Dane that jumps 25 feet.
Heather Lyons keeps a watchful eye over all the dogs who train here at the pool. She may have one of the coolest jobs in the world. The idea behind the sport started exactly how you may think it did. A group of hunters getting together to see whose dog can do what faster and farther, and the whole thing took off from there.
You maybe have heard of the Incredible Dog Challenge that Purina does. A bunch of other guys picked that up and they started Dock Dogs and then Ultimate Air Dogs. And so they made divisions, they made different games. We have training tools that we were using to try and get dogs to jump farther, jump higher, jump bigger. Those have become games. We have swim games. So that's kind of, it's just that my dog can do it bigger than your dog. No, he can't. Let's see. And here we are 15, 16 years later.
It's basically like Disneyland for dogs here. They go crazy when it's their turn to jump. Even the most calm dog, like Viper, the golden retriever, who's actually a therapy dog, is almost unrecognizable on the dock. Heather's dog, Zingy, a Belgian Malinois, blew us away with his incredible jumps.
They're so happy. They're so content. Like, they come in on fire and there's all this and, we do all this crazy, but that quiet, happy dog at the end of the day who's so content, I love that.
Dogs are split into divisions depending on their size, but this is open to any dog who loves to jump. That passion can lead to competitions all over the country, even the world. But dogs from Michigan may have an extra little advantage.
The beauty of Michigan is this is the home of dock diving. I have to say, this is the heartland of it.
Spectators are always welcome at TNT Dog Center. It's an amazing place to take your pooch if you want to give him a step up on the competition. To learn more about the programs they offer, you can visit their website, tntdogcenter.com. For our next story, we're going to focus on one of Michigan's most unique structures and extreme sports. As an added bonus, visitors get to experience some of Michigan's most breathtaking vistas at this spot near Ironwood. Steve Smith is here and he's going to share with us the story of Copper Peak.
Towering tall above the UP pine trees near Ironwood is Copper Peak, one of only 6 ski flying facilities in the world, and the only one in the Western Hemisphere. It hasn't seen any competition since 1994.
The tower itself is 26 stories, 267 feet tall. The top of it is one of the highest points in the state of Michigan. It's like 1,782 feet above sea level, and I think the highest point is probably just another 150 or 200 feet higher, which is up in the mountains north of Marquette. That in-run is like 439 feet. Skiers can accelerate to speeds in excess of 70 miles an hour.
Plans are currently underway to restore Copper Peak to its former glory. It still serves as a summer and fall destination for Michigan tourists.
Yeah, we run what we call the Copper Peak Adventure Ride, and this consists basically of the chairlift ride to the top of the hill. That's an 800-foot journey up through about 350 feet of hillside. Then a little walk over to our 18-story elevator, which brings folks up to the main observation deck. And then part of the challenge is 8 stories of stairwell that people can hike to the very top. And when they make that hike, they look through open grates. So they're looking at their down and looking down 200 feet or so or more. And it does challenge a lot of folks to do it. But the view is second to none. I can't say enough about it. We can see, we know for sure, at least 2,500 square miles. And we're looking out over Lake Superior, looking over parts of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, parts of Wisconsin, parts of Minnesota. There's nothing like it anywhere.
Construction on Copper Peak began in 1969, and by 1971, it was designated a Michigan State Historic Site. In 1973, it was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Now, a multi-million-dollar renovation is underway to make summer ski flying possible through the use of plastic.
Plastic is a relatively new innovation in the sport. I think the plastic has been around for probably at least 20 years. This allows ski jumping to be done basically 12 months of the year.
And just like in Field of Dreams, Charlie says if you build it, they will come. Possibly 10,000 people strong. Not bad for a town like Ironwood with a population of 16,000.
We would anticipate, if things go as scheduled, we would anticipate hosting what is called the Grand Prix of summer ski jumping all summer long. This would be what I would call the World Series of summer ski jumping. We would have the best athletes in the world. These would be Olympic caliber athletes, and they would come to compete on our plastic surface. Whoever would win that would be the world-class champion.
Lawmakers in Lansing are considering a bill which directs excess funds from Cobo Hall to jumpstart the renovation. $4 million from private donations and other sources also will be needed.
I don't know if anyone's aware, but the Adventure Ride, all of the profits are going to help this project progress. And so the board has put in probably $500,000 or more, just trying to bring this project to life. And I don't think people realize that all of the money, they're paying $20 a ticket for adults and $8 for kids, but that money is going directly to help the project.
And a new event is already booked for spring of 2018, a test of true endurance and fortitude, the Red Bull 400.
It's going to bring in people, many people who like to see him run up the hill. And they did have a fellow come up here and just try it, and he loved it. He thought it was a big thing to run all the way to the top of the hill. No, he loved it, and he made it in like 4 minutes right to the top. And I mean, it's amazing, how you can do that.
Copper Peak really is a destination that you do not want to miss, so be sure to check out their hours of operation on their website, copperpeak.net. For our next stop, we're heading far from the town of Ironwood to the town of Alto, just east of Grand Rapids. Hidden among the sprawling farms in this quiet countryside town, there's a destination where things are getting pretty wild. Sprawled across 80 acres of beautiful West Michigan countryside lies the Boulder Ridge Wild Animal Park, and it's a must-visit for animal lovers of all ages. But this is anything but your typical zoo.
We allow people to get a little bit closer to a lot of our animals. You get to feed like our goats, the giraffes, the camel. We have feed you can purchase for all that. Same thing with the parakeets, lots of parakeets. Antelope, there are some emu and rhea chicks, hatchlings, prairie dogs, kangaroos.
The park is home to over 150 different species of animals, 64 species of mammals, 70 different species of birds, and the list goes on and on. Husband and wife team Dave and Dawn Hoekstra opened the park in 2011, and a lot's changed since then, with more animals and ever-expanding enclosures being added year after year.
We're always getting new birds. Birds are always something they come in all different shapes, sizes, colors. Our North American badgers are new. We put them out a couple weeks ago. So there's always something we're expanding with.
Looking back at the pictures that I've had of when I first came to visit, it's crazy how different it is. All the improvements we've made and how much bigger we've gotten and all the animals we've acquired. This summer has been so busy compared to last summer already. The word's getting out and we're getting a lot more popular, and people like to come back if they've been here. We've had a lot of returning people.
On our visit, Amelia was nice enough to introduce us to one of the park's newest additions, Pepper the bobcat.
So she's a bobcat, and that's how they get their name, is their little short tail. She's one of our education animals now. We're working on training her. We've been training her since she was a baby. She's been with us her whole life. She's very playful, just like a cat or a dog.
Feeding the babies is a lot of fun. When we have babies born, we bottle feed them, kind of train them and teach them what they're not supposed to do and what they're supposed to do. So that's probably my favorite part, is being able to spend the one-on-one with the animals and building a relationship with them. It's a lot of fun.
Visitors love getting one-on-one experiences with animals like Pepper. It's these once-in-a-lifetime encounters that make a trip to Boulder Ridge unlike anything else. With so many different animals in the park, the staff is working round the clock, cleaning enclosures and educating visitors, and of course, doing lots and lots of feeding. Boulder Ridge goes through a lot of grub to keep these hungry critters fed.
At this time of year, we'll go through a 50-pound bag of carrots a day easy. In the summertime, it's crazy. We'll go through 150 pounds a day of carrots alone. Lettuce will probably go through 50 to 100 pounds of that day as well.
Want to know an easy way to make a bunch of new friends at Boulder Ridge? It's simple. Just snag a cup of carrots, head on over to an enclosure, and just wait. In no time flat, you're going to have goats, antelopes, and camels eating right out of the palm of your hand. And let's not forget about the giraffes, Ginger, Annabelle, and Tucker.
People love the giraffes, and they love people.
I've never met a giraffe before. It turns out they're pretty friendly. And as I also found out, they drool. A lot. But who can blame them when you got a cup full of tasty carrots in hand? And check out their digs, a custom-made barn with doors tall enough to accommodate their towering size. One of the coolest experiences in the park, though, has got to be this parakeet aviary. Enter the enclosure with one of these birdseed popsicles, and suddenly you're surrounded by hundreds of little budgies that are not the least bit shy when it comes to getting their midday snack. Then there's the reptile house, the kangaroos, oh, and don't forget the safari ride. This place is literally teeming with opportunities for all sorts of animal encounters. So be sure to add the Boulder Ridge Wild Animal Park into your next West Michigan adventure. The park is open to visitors from the 1st of May till about mid-October. To learn more about Boulder Ridge and all the animals at the park, you can visit their website, boulderridgewap.com. You know, here on Destination Michigan, we love celebrating our state's automotive legacy. Over the years, we've shown you tons of classic cars and heard the stories of industry innovators. And today, we're continuing that tradition with a trip to Lansing, where we learn about how one man's ingenuity blossomed into an American icon. In the downtown of Michigan's capital city, in a rather unassuming brick building, resides the R.E. Olds Transportation Museum, a gallery of some of the most impressive and innovative automobiles to ever roll off of the assembly line.
We opened for business in 1981. I think there was all of 8 cars in here. We didn't even own the cars. They were just on loan from just community people. Half of them weren't even Oldsmobiles or Rios. They were just their favorite car and they were in here. But that got the ball rolling.
Since the museum's humble beginnings almost 40 years ago, they've amassed a collection of over 80 cars, each one a different chapter in a story that spans a century.
It tells the story of R.E. Olds and what he brought to the city of Lansing. And this is this one guy, you know, that did all this for Lansing. If it wasn't for R.E. Olds, we wouldn't have Lansing at the state of what we have it today.
This story begins on the dusty roads of Lansing in the late 19th century, where one young man's love of tinkering and contempt for horses would lead him to change the world forever.
Well, Ransom came to Lansing as a 16-year-old with his family, moved up from Ohio, and his dad had a blacksmith repair shop down here on the river. They were building steam engines at the time. He eventually started tinkering around and came up with a 3-wheeled vehicle powered by one of the factory's steam engines. He tinkered with that for 2 or 3 years and tore it all apart and used part of the parts to build a 4-wheel steam vehicle.
It starts the car business from its ground up. I mean, R.E. Olds is considered the grandfather of the automobile industry. He was the first person to mass-produced assembly line that he made, way before Henry Ford sold his first car. To see a guy that was quite a tinkerer, he hated horses, just absolutely hated horses, and knew there had to be a better way from getting from here to there without the stinky horse in front of you.
R.E. Olds was the dictionary definition of a Renaissance man. But in 1905, he parted ways with the company that bore his name and started the REO Motor Car Company that would turn out vehicles until 1967. The museum is home to some of the most important cars in the history of Oldsmobile, as well as the oft-forgotten REOs.
Well, number one would be the Curved Dash. The first real production Curved Dash were 1901. It was lightweight, simple, could be built, reasonably priced, simple to operate. So it just became the best of the prototypes that we're building.
We've got another priceless car. It's called the Baby Rio. It was built in 1905. It's a half-scale car of the next year's model, taken to the New York Auto Show and put on display so prospective dealers to see what the new 1906 touring car was going to be.
The Curved Dash really put Oldsmobile on the map, and over the years, the innovations came one right after another.
At one time, they were known as the innovators of General Motors. They were known for that. Hydromatic transmissions. They had the first fully automatic transmission. One of the more famous ones was when Olds came out with a Rocket V8 engine in '49. They were the highest performance car you could buy at the time. And they excelled at NASCAR racing, and first Tornado was a very well-known car, the first modern front-wheel drive automobile. The Vista Cruiser is always a big hit with people. 442, of course, Hearst Olds.
The gallery is a spectacular array of vehicles ranging across every style and every time period. There's something here to please the taste of any car aficionado. On April 29, 2004, the last Oldsmobile rolled off the assembly line. Its impact on the auto industry, almost incalculable. And its impact on the city it called home is ever present.
You know, I think it's all that combination. It's to tell the story of RE Olds, tell some story of Lansing and their people. It's their hometown, it's their community. This is where we started. This was all part of it.
In 2012, a 1912 Olds Limited, thought to be the only one left in existence, was sold at auction for a record-breaking $3.3 million. You can find a list of many of the cars in the museum's collection by visiting their website, reoldsmuseum.org. And for our final story, Steve Smith is back and he's going to reel you in with one of the biggest fish stories that you have ever heard. So as Grandpa used to say, let's stop talking and start fishing.
Black Lake in Sheboygan County looks foreboding on a snowy winter day. But the lure of what lurks under the layer of ice is powerful. It's sturgeon spearing season.
They're an ancient fish. They predate the dinosaurs. They've been around a long, long time. Our lake sturgeon get over 200 pounds and over 100 years old. They're a state threatened species and they're threatened throughout the range and around the world.
About 425 sports anglers headed to Onaway the first Saturday in February with sights set on spearing one of 7 sturgeon. It took less than 3 hours to catch the limit.
But we want to have this to be kind of a celebration of the sturgeon. So that's why we allow whoever wants to participate. But when we do that, we also have to try to manage that harvest. So when folks harvest a fish, we've got to be notified immediately.
A 1975 census counted 1,600 sturgeon in Black Lake. By 1997, the number had dwindled to 549. That's when local anglers banded together to form Sturgeon for Tomorrow.
They're the elder statesmen of Michigan's fish species, and they're worth conserving. And I call it conservation, not protectionism. It's really a conservation success story where, the anglers stood up and said, to protect our sport, we'll go out and protect them in the springtime. We'll do this sturgeon guard, and here we are today. I was 6 when I first saw a sturgeon. I was with my grandfather fishing on Burt Lake, and I thought, wow, we were in a shanty. People crunch, 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 crunch running over to this shanty, and I saw this big fish on the ice, and I was 6. And so I remember looking into the eye of that sturgeon, and it was a magic moment.
There was 18, 19 inches of ice. I have a chainsaw with a 20-inch bar, and it was everything I had to get through that ice, but we got the hole. We cut it in 3 bricks, and we push it down and push it up underneath the ice, so it's probably a good 15, 20 feet away now.
The mystique of the Neanderthal bottom feeder is rich fodder for anglers' tales and memories. Spearing a big sturgeon spawns big fish stories. At 77, Joellen Oppenheiser was going for her 3rd.
The first one I speared was 50 inches long, and my friend Doris Christ was with me, sitting in the shanty, and I got so excited I went to get my husband to help us, and I locked her in the shack, and she's holding the fish like this, and it was so exciting when I came back and she said, "Open the door, you locked me in," and she's still standing there.
Sadly, Joellen got skunked this season, but 7 successful anglers and their partners reveled in the thrill of the experience.
I kept seeing seaweed and stuff, and I was thinking it was the fish. And then finally the fish came through, and I was like, "Oh my God, a fish!" And he was like, "No way." And then he looked, and it actually was a fish. And then he speared it, and I was calling on the radio for his dad and his brother and his best friend, and nobody was coming. So I had to help him get this freaking thing out of the shack. And then finally we got it out, but it was crazy.
Well, the whole thing took about 2 minutes. Fish was barely moving. Came in right on bottom, similar to the one we saw earlier this morning outside the hole. And we just stuck it with a spear, and then we threw a backup spear in it and brought her up out of there. And I just tell people, buck fever ain't nothing until you see a large fish in the hole.
I had a buddy of mine sit in the shack, first time spearing. All of a sudden, I see something, don't know if it's a fish. They say, "Is that a fish?" I say, "No." And then I throw my spear and I knew it was a fish right away. It was that quick.
So what's next for the king catch of the day?
Cook it up, deep fry it.
So this one I'm going to put on the wall.
Yeah, you can slice them into steaks and then you have to clean them up and you take the rib bones out and all the fat off the meat and you get very little left, but they do taste like pork chops, and I fry them in chicken shake and bake, and they're very good.
Through the efforts of Sturgeon for Tomorrow, the DNR, and Tower Cleaver Unlimited, a sturgeon rearing station is spawning rehabilitation efforts in Burt and Mullet Lakes as well. A positive sign that these sturgeon will be around for another 240 million years. Well, that's going to bring this episode of Destination Michigan to a close, and from all of us here, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time. Now you can enjoy the Destination Michigan experience anytime, anywhere, online. Just go to pbs.org or download the PBS app to your smartphone or tablet. Search Destination Michigan and relive all of your favorite stories from our beloved Great Lakes state.